You are about to hear something that could completely change your life. What if I told you that there is a hidden code, a set of truths so powerful that, if you apply them, you could finally break the cycle of stagnation, scarcity, and frustration? What if I told you that a man discovered this code, but the forces that control the world chose to hide it? His name is Napoleon Hill. And the ideas he revealed in his studies were not just about how to get rich, but about how to escape the mental slavery that prevents you from living your true destiny. Today, I'm going to tell you what they don't want you to discover. Because once you do, there's no going back. Imagine a society where most people live on autopilot, unaware that they are being manipulated. According to Napoleon Hill, humanity's greatest prison is not made of bars, but of thoughts. It's what he called drifting, that is, the unconscious habit of wandering through life, without purpose, without direction, without awareness. In the book Outwitting the Devil, Hill reveals that most people are easily controlled because they have no defined purpose, they don't think for themselves, and they are constantly in a state of fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of poverty, fear of other people's opinions. And it is precisely this fear that they use to keep you paralyzed. But the question is, who are they? According to Hill, it is all the structures that benefit from a directionless population, schools that do not teach critical thinking, systems that promote conformity, and media that feed fear daily. The human mind, for Napoleon Hill, is a fertile field, but it all depends on the seed you plant. If you allow others to plant fear, doubt, scarcity, and conformity, you will reap a life of limitation. But if you plant courage, faith, purpose, and directed thinking, you begin to reap freedom, wealth, and transformation. Hill spent more than 25 years studying the most successful men in history, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and others, and discovered that they all had something in common, a clear purpose and an absolute refusal to live as mental slaves. They created entire realities with the power of conscious thought. This is not magic. This is mind science. This is mental mastery. And when you understand this, you understand why they never wanted these ideas to become popular. But why are these truths so dangerous to the system? Because an awakened person can no longer be manipulated. A free mind does not consume any content. It questions, it searches, it creates. Hill claims that the greatest power of human beings is the power to control their own thoughts. Because when you control your mind, you control your vibration. And when you control your vibration, you control your reality. Napoleon Hill's discoveries go far beyond money. They are about freedom. And freedom scares the system. That is why much of what he revealed was only published decades after his death. Because no one had the courage to expose the silent pact between fear, distorted religion, schools and institutions that keep people asleep. And perhaps now you are asking yourself, okay, but how can I start applying this in my life? The first key is to identify your defined purpose. Hill said, a clear goal is like a compass in a storm. If you don't know where you are going, any path will do. And that is precisely where control happens. Most people spend their entire lives chasing money without ever asking themselves, why? Money is not the goal. It is the consequence of a mind aligned with purpose, service, and direction. And when you have a defined purpose, you attract the resources, people, and opportunities necessary to fulfill it. The universe responds to a focused mind with the same precision with which it responds to the laws of physics. The second pillar of Hill's discoveries is mastery over fear. Fear is the silent killer of dreams. It is the most powerful mechanism of collective control. Hill interviewed thousands of people and identified the 6 greatest fears of humanity: fear of poverty, criticism, illness, loss of a loved one, old age and death. And what he realized is that fear paralyzes creative thinking. It closes invisible doors. It blocks the flow of life. And the antidote to fear is action. Acting even when afraid is the secret that separates mental masters from mental slaves. Progress belongs to those who dare. And they know it. That's why they feed fear like a drug. The third principle is self-discipline. Hill states that a person without discipline is like a car without brakes, uncontrolled, unpredictable, and vulnerable to any external influence. Discipline is freedom in its most practical form. Because when you become master of yourself, no one else can manipulate you. You choose what you consume. You choose what you think. You choose how you react. And that conscious choice is the beginning of freedom. What they don't want you to discover is that you can choose. That you can think. That you can create your reality based on timeless principles that work for anyone who applies them consistently. The fourth principle is the power of the subconscious mind. Napoleon Hill was one of the first thinkers to state that the subconscious is like an obedient servant. It simply manifests what you repeat to it with emotion and frequency. The problem is that most people have been feeding their subconscious with fear, anxiety, negative thoughts, and limiting beliefs since childhood. The result? A life that reflects exactly that programming. But the good news is that you can reprogram your mind. Through the conscious repetition of positive affirmations, visualizations, and constant contact with elevated ideas, you change the frequency of your mind. And by changing your frequency, you change your reality. It's vibrational science applied to practical life. The fifth principle is the mastermind, that is, the power of associating with minds aligned with your goals. Hill discovered that all successful millionaires surrounded themselves with others who also thought big. The energy of a focus group is a multiplier. It is like an invisible force that drives your ideas. But the opposite is also true. If you surround yourself with negative, fearful, limited people, your mind will be contaminated by this vibration. Hill said that your social circle is a mirror of your future. Therefore, choose wisely who you share your dreams with. They can be fertilizer or poison. The sixth principle is applied faith. Hill does not speak of religious faith in the dogmatic sense. He speaks of faith as an emotional certainty that what you desire is already yours. Faith is the fuel of achievement. It is the invisible bridge between the inner world and the outer world. Hill states that all human achievements begin with an idea and are realized with faith. And this faith can be cultivated. How? Through repetition, visualization, and autosuggestion. When you believe strongly and clearly, the universe responds. Faith is not sitting around waiting. Faith is acting with the conviction that what you seek is seeking you. The seventh principle is the habit of making quick and firm decisions. Hill discovered that successful people are quick to decide and slow to change their minds. On the other hand, unsuccessful people do the opposite. They take a long time to decide and change their minds all the time. Decisions are an act of power. When you decide clearly, the universe begins to move in your favor. Procrastination is the poison of action. And those who profit from your indecision are the same ones who benefit from your stagnation, your doubt, your dormant mind. Now stop for a moment and look at your life. How many decisions have you failed to make out of fear? How many dreams have you shelved because someone said they weren't possible? How many times have you adapted to mediocrity just to stay in your comfort zone? The truth is hard, but liberating. Everything you need to change your life is already inside you. They just don't want you to find out. Because once you wake up, there's no stopping you. You're not here by chance. If this video reached you, it's because a part of you is ready to wake up. To break the cycle. To finally take control of your mind, your life, your destiny. Napoleon Hill's ideas aren't just theory, they're the roadmap to your liberation. But like any roadmap, it only works if you decide to follow it. And that takes courage. It takes responsibility. It takes the will to change. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, am I living the life I was born to live? If the answer is no, then maybe this is your calling. Maybe this is the moment when everything changes. Maybe this is your turning point. Because now you know. And knowledge, when applied, is power. It's time to decide. It's time to act. It's time to take control of your life. Now that you've taken me on this journey through Napoleon Hill's discoveries, you may be feeling something awakening inside you. A kind of restlessness that says, there's more. There's something bigger for me. And you're absolutely right. The world you know, this limited, routine, sometimes suffocating reality, is not all there is. It's just a reflection of your current mind. And Hill proved this. He showed that external reality is shaped, without exception, by what's going on inside you. The problem is that we've been conditioned since childhood to think small, to obey, to wait for permission. And when someone tries to show a way out, the system tries to silence, discredit, or ridicule them. But now you know, the key has always been with you. The transformation begins when you decide to stop being a passenger in your own life and take the wheel. When Hill says that thought is the most powerful thing in the universe, he is not exaggerating. Every empire, every invention, every revolution, was first born as a thought. So why should it be any different with your life? Your dreams are seeds. But they only blossom if you water them with intention, action, and persistence. The question that remains is, will you continue to water the seeds of fear and doubt, or will you start cultivating courage, faith, and purpose today? Because the universe does not respond to what you desire deep down in your heart. It responds to what you believe with strength and constancy. Understand one thing clearly, you were not made to survive. You were made to create. Human beings are not cogs in the machine of the system. They are the architects of reality. But only those who dare to step out of line discover this power. Those who begin to question. Who stands up and says, I will no longer accept living on autopilot. The laws that Hill revealed do not distinguish between rich or poor, between those born with a silver spoon in their mouth or those born into difficulties. They work for everyone. But they are only accessible to those who make a firm decision to never again be a mental slave. You can start small. One new habit. One thought at a time. One affirmation a day. But the most important thing is to start. Because what paralyzes us is not the lack of resources, but the lack of decision. The world is full of talented people, but who live stuck in repetitive cycles because they never decided to change with conviction. Hill taught us that success is not a matter of luck, it is a matter of sustained decision. And that decision needs to come from within. Don't expect others to understand. Don't expect the world to applaud. It is a lonely journey at first. But as you move forward, the universe begins to open doors that were previously invisible. And remember, it is not just about achieving money or external success. That is the consequence. The real prize is inner freedom. It's waking up every day knowing that you are the creator of your reality. That nothing and no one can limit you, unless you allow it. Hill said that the man who masters his thoughts is more powerful than the one who conquers an army. And he was right. Because when you master your mind, you no longer need anyone's approval. You no longer need to beg for attention. You no longer live in fear. You become unshakable. So, the next time someone tells you that success is a matter of luck, or that you're dreaming too big, remember what you heard here. They don't want you to find out, because once you do, you become unstoppable. And now that you know, there's only one question left: what will you do with this power? The choice is yours. But know this, from today on, you can never again say you didn't know. If this content touched your soul, write in the comments, "I choose to live with purpose and awareness." And if you want to continue receiving content that unlocks your mind and your reality, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. The awakening has begun. And you are no longer alone on this journey.